Hey there, freedom seekers, welcome back. This is number 2 of our series of live videos, and this series centers around starting the right business for you so that you can launch it on a rock solid foundation so that you can get to profit faster and then live a life you love sooner. So last time I discussed with you this roadmap that I used to help my clients start a business. It has 4 stages. Stage number 1 is the research, where we do internal and external research. Stage number 2 is the vetting, where we vet the viability of the business or businesses that are considering starting or buying, and not just the economic viability of the business, but also whether this is a good match for them based on what they want to accomplish in their lives. And stage number 3 is the planning, the business planning, where we create a business plan depending on what we need it for. We could need it for a financial organization that requires a business plan before we have a loan. It could also be for ourselves to make sure that we have a good idea of how this business is going to be making money in the next few years. And then finally, we have the launch to make sure that the business is started and launched on the right legal and administrative foot and foundation. And then finally, this is where we get to a life that we want to live sooner. But it's not as easy as it seems, of course. There is a timeline that we need to observe, we need to follow, and that timeline is from the moment we have startup cost to the moment that we have a profit in the business. The length of that timelines often is going to be critical for most people, because the longer it is, the more risky it is for the business, and the more chances the business has to fail if the timeline is too long. So let me give you a little bit of an example how most people start a business the wrong way, and how they launch a business the wrong way, and why the majority of people who start a business don't last beyond a year, and the very vast majority don't last 5 years. So I'll show you this timeline right now on my screen. Give me a second. So there it is. So as you can see, this is a timeline we discussed. We have stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Stage 1 is usually the research. Stage 2 is the vetting. 3 is the planning, and 4 is the launching. Most people started this way. They have an idea, they want to start a business. They may or may not do any research at all, but usually what they do is they dive in and they get a name for the business, get a website, get a logo, and they dive in and start the business. They start occurring startup costs right here. As soon as you have startup costs and you launch your business, you launch it here, then you have the recurring costs. These recurring costs are monthly fixed and variable costs that businesses have. And of course, it's going to differ depending on the type of business you have. A brick and mortar business, for example, is likely to have rent to pay and a greater cost than a business that is mobile. But the point is as soon as you have these startup costs and recurring costs, then what happened is most of these businesses launch the product without doing enough vetting. And what happens is the market is going to vet their business model and their products for them. And that's where it gets really scary, because you are not sure, whether the product you're creating is going to be a product that the customers are going to want to buy. You don't even know at that point exactly who are your customers and how you find them. What channels are you going to use to get to those customers? But the market is going to tell you, the market is going to prove or disprove your idea for business. And this is, meanwhile, you are having recurring costs until you get to the point of break even, where your cost and your revenues are equal, and hopefully to profit fast. But this part here is the most critical part of the timeline from startup cost to profit that most people get wrong. And here's why. As soon as you have this startup cost, you have these working capital expenses, which are, again, your recurring costs, which is what the money you need to keep the lights on in your life and keep the lights on in your business. And the idea we have here is we want to shrink that timeline, that working capital timeline, from starting the business to making a profit. We want to shrink it as much as possible. And here's how we do it. Let me show you the right timeline to do this. And this is the timeline that I use with my clients. And this is why it's a lot less stressful and a lot easier to succeed with this timeline. We are going to go through the same steps, but in a different order. We're going to have, okay, do we start a business or not? And let's do some research, internal research and external research. You know, internal research has to do with you, and external research has to do with the market. Then we're going to vet the business idea or business ideas that you want to start or buy to make sure that they are economically viable and to make sure that they are the right business for you, for the life that you want. And then we're going to do some planning. And then around the time of the planning, this is where we're going to have the launch. The startup costs are going to start happening here. And then we launch the business and we start having the recurring costs here. And then, as you can see, we don't rely on the market to vet our idea, to prove or disprove of our idea, because we've done that before we had the starting costs, which results in the timeline between startup costs and profit to be a lot shorter, which means you need a lot less working capital, you know, because for the moment you start your business, you will already have it proved or disproved, but you have it proved. Then you have a better idea of what product to create, what minimal viable product to launch with your client before you have all these great costs. And that, my friend, is how you minimize the risk of starting a business and you maximize your chances of succeeding and getting to the life that you want sooner. Thank you for watching, and this is it for today. And if we haven't met, I'm Patricia Botero Saint Jean. I'm a starter business coach and the founder of Open for Business, which is a business research lab. And let me know. I'm here to help you, you know, research, vet, plan, and launch the right business for you. Let me know what is stopping you. Let me know in the comments what is stopping you from starting the right business for you so that you can live a life with more freedom. Until next time, cheers to building a life you love with the right business for you. Take care.